My internet in my apartment is terrible. This forces me to do pretty much everything internet related on campus. I always sit in the same area. It's a sort of booth on the side of a hallway. This gives me a nice place to plug in and get all of my crap done. As soon as I finish everything, I spend the rest of my time playing League of Legends. It's my guilty pleasure. About a month ago, while I was losing a ranked game, some guy noticed that I was playing League of Legends and felt the need to watch me play. This happens on occasion because it's a popular game and people are curious. It didn't bother me at first, but this dude wouldn't go away, and I was mad because we were throwing pretty hard. I mean, it doesn't help to have someone watch you, but it's even worse when you're already playing like trash. Well, the game finally ended, and this guy was still standing there. I took off my headphones and asked him what was up. We started chatting and joking around about the loss and how poorly my team was doing. He said that he played League, and we talked about the game for a little. He seemed pretty normal, and it was actually a good conversation. I was surprised because I usually don't talk to random guys who watch me lose video games on campus, so this was a first. Well, one thing led to another, and I ended up giving him my cell phone number so that we could play some games together. That was a mistake. The rest of that week, this guy started showing up at the booth. At first, he just watched me play and talked to me after, but then one day he invited himself to sit down at the booth. It was strange, but I figured we had been talking for a week, and so I guess in a way we were kind of becoming friends. Then things started to escalate. This guy would start walking with me to my classes and talking with me along the way. A few days went by, and he worked up the courage to ask me out. It was a surprise, because up until that point, all we'd talked about was the game. I said I wasn't interested, and told him I was in a long-distance relationship, which was true. He got angry and said that I shouldn't lie to him, that I never mentioned I was in a relationship, and that I should give him a chance. His reaction shocked me, and we were starting to get attention from the people around us. I tried to de-escalate the situation, but he stood up and started saying how I was leading him on all week. Needless to say, I was confused. This was some random guy I knew for less than a week, practically yelling at me because I wouldn't go on a date with him. I just stood there dumbfounded until he eventually walked away, upset. People were looking at me like I was the bad guy in this situation. I tried to shrug it off, but it was just too weird. I decided that I would switch up my spot so I wouldn't have to run into this guy again. Unfortunately, that didn't change anything, because I started getting angry texts from this guy. He kept saying that I made him look like a fool and that I made a big mistake. I left them on read and prayed that he would just leave me alone. Something like this had never happened to me. I mean, I had seriously pissed this guy off by telling him I couldn't go on a date because I was in a relationship. I've been asked out multiple times and politely declined, but no one has ever reacted like this. It was like a little kid throwing a tantrum, but instead he was a grown man and was now on the verge of violent outrage. 2 days after the incident, he started waiting for me at my classes. He would confront me and keep saying the same things, how I had made him look like a fool and how I was a stupid whore. I would try to push past him into the classroom, but he would stand in front of me. I looked to the people walking past us, hoping someone would help, but they would all just walk by, some even laughing at the awkward situation. I went home after my second class and skipped the rest of my classes that day. I wanted to wait for my roommate and ask her what I should do. I had told her about the incident and now things were getting scary. I was only home for 2 hours when I got a knock at the door, and when I went to open it, the guy from the booth pushed himself into my apartment and started yelling at me. I didn't even know he knew where I lived. I was done. I pulled out my cell phone and told him to leave me alone or I would call the cops. He laughed and walked out the door telling me I would regret that. I cried to my roommate when she got home, not sure what I could even do in this situation. We were going to stay up all night because I was too scared to sleep. My boyfriend was ready to fly out and fight this guy, and my mom told me if I didn't call campus security, that she would. It was nice to have them support me, but still, my only sources of security were hundreds of miles away. It was way past midnight, and I was getting pretty tired. My roommate had already fallen asleep on the couch while we were watching some stupid TV show on Netflix. I curled up on the floor and started to doze off. A loud pounding on our door jolted us awake. There was someone on the other side screaming at us. It was the guy from the booth. I was officially freaked out and started crying. I became a complete mess and couldn't even move. My roommate jumped to her feet and went to the door. She started yelling at this guy, telling him that she was calling the cops. The guy didn't stop, and so she really did call the cops. He kept screaming away all the way up until he must have seen the lights or heard the sirens, and then he was gone. My roommate and I explained the situation to the officers. I showed them everything this guy had sent to me. I'm not sure what the cops did after that, or if they did anything at all. Luckily, there were only 2 weeks left in the semester, and they went by without any problems. I flew home after the semester, and I'm currently taking a semester off to work and save up money, but I know he's still on campus, and I'm afraid to go back. I know what you're thinking. How could there be a real-life scary story involving League of Legends that isn't about Yasuo mains? Just hear me out. This was a crazy experience that happened to me last month. I'm in a lot of League of Legends Facebook groups. I joined them in order to find people to play with. I main support and like playing with a duo queue partner, but not many people I know in real life play the game. I was Silver 1 and finally grinded my way up to my Gold 5 promos. I had been working towards this for a long time, so I didn't want to mess this up. I posted a message in one of my League of Legends Facebook groups that was specifically for people in my state. I was hoping to find someone local that I could play with regularly. I usually get a lot of responses, solely based on the fact that I'm a girl. I never let that bother me though. I added someone who was also in his Gold 5 promos. He said he could play later that day, and I figured that he would try harder because he also had something to lose if we didn't win. I got on later that night, and we played a few normals just to see how we worked together. Like I said, there was no way I was messing this up. I added him on Discord, and we won most of our games. I was ready to play a few ranked, so we queued up. It was close. He already had 1 loss when we started playing, and we lost our first game. He couldn't afford to lose any more. I turned on some music in order to get serious, and by some miracle, we won the next 3 in a row and were both promoted to Gold 5. I was so excited. We were both congratulating each other, and I was literally jumping for joy. This was the highest I had ever gotten in the ranked system. We had been playing for a few hours, and it was getting pretty late. I told him that I was done for the night and logged off and went to bed. I couldn't stop smiling. I know, I'm lame. It's just a game, but if you play League of Legends and you've been stuck in bronze or silver for more than a season, then you can probably relate. If you have never struggled to get to gold or are way past that by now, then you probably think I'm complete trash, which is probably true. The next day, I saw that the guy who I had played with sent me a friend request on Facebook. I accepted it and sent him a message telling him that I had fun last night and thanked him for his help. His Facebook account had a weird name and some obscure anime character as his profile pic. It was obvious this wasn't his main account, but that didn't bother me. Later that night, he sent me a message and told me to feel free to invite him to play anytime, and that we made a good team. I told him that I would, but I had decided that I was going to take a break from ranked. The next couple of days, I saw that he was commenting on a few of my posts and going through and liking old pictures. It was a little weird, but this wasn't the first time that someone had done this to me. It was Facebook. All my pictures were public, so it was to be expected. I've even Facebook stalked guys that I like, and had a few close calls where I've almost liked some of their older pictures. The only difference was this guy was doing it on purpose. Weird, but whatever. He started messaging me again, asking when we were going to play. I told him that I was taking a break from ranked, but if he wanted to, he could play a few norms with my friends and me. He declined and said maybe another time. The next day I saw that I had over 20 messages from this guy. He talked about how he thought I was beautiful and said that we should hang out sometime. I was definitely weirded out, but like I said, this wasn't the first time I was hit on or asked out by a random guy online. He sounded normal when I had talked to him, so I thought maybe he just wasn't good at this kind of stuff. I politely declined and told him that I wasn't interested in going on a date or hanging out. I appreciated the offer though. Things started to get strange after that. It started off with him buying me skins in-game and leaving weird messages. It was creepy, but they were actually good skins that I wanted, so I didn't say anything at first. I know, pretty shallow, but if he wanted to buy them for me, I wasn't going to stop him. He then started messaging me, saying how I owed him now since he got me the skins. I told him that I never asked him to buy them for me, and that I still wouldn't hang out with him. He got pretty aggressive, so I went as far as to block him on Facebook, Discord, and League of Legends. I thought it was over and went on with my life. Later that week, I accepted a friend request from someone that I knew in high school. I started getting messages from them asking how I was doing and what I was up to with my life. It was fun to reconnect with them, but then I realized something was off. The account had just been created, only had a few friends, and the only picture on the account was the profile picture. I felt like an idiot for falling for this. It turned out to be the guy I had played with, posing as my friend. I called him out, told him he needed to stop and that this wasn't funny. He kept messaging me on that account until I blocked it and reported it to Facebook. Now I was really creeped out. I was hoping he would really leave me alone this time. I was a lot more careful with my social media after this, but this guy went out of his way to talk to me. Somehow he had gotten my cell phone number and started texting me. He sent me messages calling me names, saying how I was stupid and that I owed him. I blocked the number, but the next day I got more messages from a different random number. It was late and I was already in bed. He started asking if I still lived on so-and-so lane, which I did. He started sending messages describing things that were currently in my front yard, how my car was parked, and things that were around the outside of the house. This freaked me out, and I locked all the doors and windows. I blocked the number and ran to my parents' room. I explained the situation and showed them the messages. My dad got the police involved, but nothing really came of it. They never found anyone near the house, or any evidence that anyone had been there. They just told me to be more careful in the future. Maybe he was never actually there and was just describing things he saw in pictures that my family and I had posted online, but it still creeps me out that he knew my address. I only heard from him one more time since then. I got a text message from a random Google Voice account saying, "You still owe me. I'm waiting." When I play games at night, I sometimes think I can see someone outside my window, but I know I'm probably just freaking myself out. I still use the skins he got me though, and he did help me get to gold, so I guess in a way, it was worth it.